And I am delighted to see you all here. And welcome to our new people. We hope that you like it and come back. Today is the second day of the second week of counting the Omer. And this is the week of Gevura. Gevura is generally translated as justice or discipline or restraint. Some of my teachers have also interpreted it as wise boundaries. And I've also heard Gevura described as strength or power. So I have this picture in my head of Wonder Woman with her big gold bracelets. That's Gevura to me. So the importance here is that Gevura gives our chesed, that loving energy and mercy that we talked about last week, form and focus. According to a book I have called the Kabbalah Decoder, and I quote now, the quality of judgment and power must counterbalance mercy and love in order to prevent the divine light from overwhelming human beings. Similarly, the outreaching mercy of chesed ensures the power manifest in Gevura does not wreak havoc. There needs to be that balance. So I think the issue of being judgmental is really challenging for many of us. So I go through these kinds of questions, on a fairly regular basis. Am I judging myself harshly? Am I judging my friends harshly? Am I judging others, strangers, harshly? And what does it really mean to be non-judgmental? Which is something that we talk about when we talk about mindfulness meditation. Meditate and your mind wanders and come back non-judgmentally to your focus. Well, what does it mean to be non-judgmental? Does that mean I don't care? So those are questions that come up for me around Gevura. We need to be able to use our ability to judge wisely. We need to be able to evaluate, and evaluation is a form of judgment. So personally, I use the word judgment when I'm being kind of harsh and when I'm reacting kind of impulsively. And then I use the word discernment when I'm judging with care, when I'm judging with chesed. And that's the way I play with this for myself. And I think that this distinction is very much related to Viktor Frankl's reminder that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response rather than simply react. Gevura combined with chesed helps us with this choice, this decision. So another way to look at Gevura is through the lens of wise boundaries. In all relationships, we need to develop boundaries so that we're not overwhelmed by another person's needs and that we're not overwhelming or smothering another person. So maybe you can think back to when you were a child. Can you remember times you were disciplined? I mean, all children need discipline. That's how they learn the rules of their family or of their society. Some of us may have received harsh discipline, maybe a bit too much Gevura. Some of us may have been lovingly disciplined, maybe a really good balance between Gevura and chesed. And some of us may have struggled with not having had sufficient discipline, So another way to look at this is that wise boundaries can create spaciousness for us within ourselves. Gevura can help us draw boundaries for ourselves so we can distinguish between time for ourselves and time for our families and time for our work and time for our activities. Gevura helps us make time for friends and for self-care. Gevura helps us say yes or no to a request with clarity and honesty, rather than getting all tangled up because we have a desire to please somebody or an aversion to disappoint somebody. And now many of us are becoming vaccinated and thinking about how to kind of step back into the world. And that also requires some gevura, some discipline around how much we do and how much we don't do, what we feel comfortable with and what we don't feel comfortable with. I'm vaccinated. Can I eat inside a restaurant? I don't know if everyone else in that restaurant is vaccinated. So for some people, the answer is going to be, yes, I can still do that. And for some people, the answer is going to be, no, not there yet. And that's fine. That's gevura. That's wise boundaries. When we can think it through and really tap into what feels right for ourselves. So we can use gevura to create wise and, when necessary, flexible boundaries. So let's sit. I invite you to take a posture that's going to work for you, to be relatively still for about 15 minutes. So we sit in an alert yet relaxed position. So with the strength of gevura, we sit straight and tall. And with the kindness of chesed, we're not tense or rigid. And as we're sitting in this really kind of regal position, we breathe. So we notice our inhale and we notice our exhale. And we don't have to do anything special with our breath. But we follow it. Breathing in and breathing out. And now take a moment to really notice all of the contact points you have with the chair or the cushion, wherever it is that you're sitting. Notice your feet flat on the floor. Maybe feel your sits bones. Allowing yourself to really feel supported. And now we'll sit in silence. And in the silence, allow the thoughts and the sensations and the emotions to arise and then float away. There's no need to try to catch a thought or an insight now. It will return when it's ripe. And you know, your mind will wander. That's what minds do. So without harsh judgment, when your mind wanders, gently come back to your body, to your breath, to your points of contact, and maybe noticing where in your body you feel your breath most prominently. So as you are slowly and gently returning to our room, I'm going to share that the ambiguity that's inherent in boundaries is explored by Robert Frost in his poem, The Mending Wall. I'm not going to read the whole poem, but just a couple of thoughts from it. For those of you who are not familiar with this poem, it's about a stone wall built between two properties in New England. And each spring, Frost and his neighbor from the other side of the wall walk the length of the wall together, one on each side of the wall, and repair the wall. Stones fall down during the winter, they get knocked over, and they repair the wall. And they have a conversation while they're doing this. And that's what the poem is about. And in the poem, Frost is really expressing ambivalence that he feels about this wall. So at times, building and rebuilding walls can be a way to strengthen relationships. And in the poem, the neighbor says, good fences make good neighbors. And at times, fences interfere with relationships. And Frost says the following: why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. So I am now going to turn off the recording